Hi everyone, welcome to C2TA. In the last video we have seen how to use Jira for agile methodologies and how to use the Scrum board. So let me quickly recall the Scrum board. So as we see in this screenshot, right? So this is how the Scrum board looks like. So we have basically three columns: to do, in progress and done. So here for example this is sprint 2. So sprint 2 is for a 2 weeks duration, and these are the stories selected for this sprint. And if you see here, so we have 4 tasks available for this particular story. So here we have 3 stories in to-do list, 1 in progress. If all these subtasks are moved to done, then which means we have to consider this story as done. Same way, if all the stories completed, then which means the sprint also completed. So what happened at the last day of the sprint is like sprint review and sprint retrospective meeting. So in the sprint review we have to demo to the business analyst and the product owner that what we have done so far in the sprint. They'll give their suggestions and we have to take it as a feedback, and then we have to do the improvements in the next sprint. And in the sprint retrospective, so the team members and the Scrum Master will be the participants, and where we need to tell like what went well in the last sprint and what went wrong in the last sprint and what is the improvement required for the upcoming sprints. So these things will be discussed on the sprint retrospective. Once that is done, then that is the end of the sprint. Then from the next week Monday onwards we will be starting with the new sprint. So this is what happening in the real-time projects, right? So today in this video we are going to see how the Jira is handling the defects or bugs. So before that we have to know what is a bug, or when is a bug really a bug, right? For example, we are planning to develop one application. So we know what needs to do, right? So because we have the requirement, so following the requirement only we are going to develop this application. For example, I am going to test a login page of the application. So where if I am providing the valid username and valid password and click on login button, my expectation is it has to successfully log in into the application. But assume instead of it login into the application, even if I have provided the valid username and password and clicking on the login button, it still remains on the login page, meaning so there is some issue, right? So then that is what we call it as a defect. So tester, what they will do means they have to raise a bug in Jira so that developers can work on that bug. Once they fix it, then we have to retest and close the defect. Yeah. So as you know, right, so we have a bug life cycle like this. So once we create a new bug, by default the status will be new, and then it will be open or assigned to the developer. And once the developer started working on this bug, and if he done his fixes, then he changed it to fixed status, right? Once it is fixed, then he will assign to the tester for retesting this defect. So when the retest is happening, either if the defect is fixed properly, then the tester will close the defect. Suppose when we do the retest, the issue still occurs or any new issue occurs, right? Then we have to reopen this defect, and then once again we have to assign it to developer. Developer will work on this defect again for the fix. So there are other 2 status as you see here, rejected and deferred. Rejected meaning, for example, once we created a defect and the developer thinks that this is not a valid defect, then he can reject this as well. But once the developer rejects any bug, we have to confirm with business analyst or product owner and only then we have to allow this Jira to be rejected. And here deferred in the sense, for example, we raised a bug in Jira, that bug is accepted by the developer, but the developer feels like this is not a mandatory fix for the current release, which means he accepts this is a bug, but this is not important to release or not important to fix in the current release. Instead, he want to fix this in the later releases. So he changed the status to deferred, and this particular bug Jira will be moved to the backlog. Then they'll pick this bug in the upcoming releases, right, or upcoming sprints, right? So this is a general bug life cycle, as we know, but it's not mandatory that the Jira also follow all these statuses. It depends on the company. All these statuses are customizable in Jira application. It can be like open, in progress, fixed, done, something like that as well. Only within, they'll cover all this within 3 of this or 4 of these statuses, right? So ideally this is the bug life cycle, but we cannot expect the Jira also to behave with all these statuses, because it is customizable in the Jira application. Either we can create all these statuses, and then once we create a bug, first it will go to new and then open, fix it, retest, closed, or reopen. Either we can follow this structure as well, but some of the companies, they don't want to follow all these statuses. Instead, by default, when we open the bug, it will remain open, and when it is started developing, for example, it is assigned to the developer started working on this defect, they put the status as in progress, and once they are completed fixing the bug, then they'll assign it to the tester and making the status as in review, and once the testing is done, then the tester move it to done. So something like that. All these statuses, all these flows are customizable in Jira application. So based on the companies, right, whichever they are using this Jira application, they can customize all this, right? So let's see how Jira is handling the bugs in real-time applications. So this is the Jira application, but as you see here, right, so this is our Jira server. For example, all these bugs raised are for the Jira application itself. So they are using this application for their own bugs, right? So for example, so I'm opening this application just to give you an idea of how we are creating a bug and what are the attributes required when we creating a bug, right? So if you see in description first, whenever you create a bug, so we have to give the proper title. As we see here, so this is the title of the bug. When using the project import, if your release has archived and released option set, but only the released option is imported. So the archived and released options are set for import, but only the released option is imported. So this is the title of the bug, and we have to provide some additional details in the descriptions, right? So here they have given a summary like this is reproducible on data center. They said yes, and then we have to provide the steps to reproduce. For example, tester capture this bug, he has to give all the steps how to reproduce this issue. Only then developer follow these steps and they'll reproduce the issue so that they can understand this bug and they'll fix from their end, right? So after we have added all the steps to reproduce, then we have to tell, after following all these steps, what is the expected result. So for example, here in the expected result, they have mentioned like both the archived and released flags should be imported when restoring a project using the project importer tool. So this is the expected result, but the actual result is the archived flag is dropped from the version and only the released flag is retained after the import. So this is the actual result. So they are expecting archived and released tags should be imported, but whereas in actual result what is happening is only the released tag is retained after the import, the archived flag is dropped. So this is what the issue is. For example, this is the expected result. When the actual result not meets the expected result, then this is a bug. Something went wrong on this. Right? So if testers know what is the workaround for this, or if they have some idea of this issue, root cause, or how to fix this issue, means then they can add that details in the workaround so that developer will make use of this. Right? Other than this title and description, we have some other attributes like priority. So we have 3 priorities: high, medium and low. So this priority is to tell the developer that this bug is how much important for him to fix. For example, if we put the priority as high, then developer has to pick this task as first, and then he'll try to fix this first. If it is medium, means he'll take the high priorities first and then he'll pick the medium priority bugs. Same way, low means the last priority. Right? And then the affect version means this bug is affecting which versions. For example, we have several versions of this application, and this bug was introduced in earlier version 8.08, and along with that it is affecting all these versions as well. So we have to give these details so that the fix will be made against all these versions. The label is an additional information for any Jira. This will help us to filter the relative bugs. Severity, if you see here, they have mentioned like severity 3 minor. So basically we have 5 severities: blocker, critical, major, moderate and minor. So blocker is like if you put any of the bug as blocker, then which means you are not able to continue until this issue is getting fixed. It's like it's blocking your testing, like that. Right? If it is critical, in the sense it is impacting the application in a critical way. If we cannot fix this issue, then it is very critical for the release, something like that. Major, in the sense, so it is not critical, but still it is a major issue that needs to be fixed as soon as possible. Moderate means which is lesser than major, so which we can fix it later as well. And minor is the least priority or least option that they have to fix. So what is the difference between priority and severity? Means priority means, so we have to tell the developer how soon he has to fix this Jira. But whereas severity, in the sense how much it is impacting the application, how severely this defect impacts the application. Right? And we have a status here. So this status is nothing but the flow actually. In the bug life cycle we have seen, right? So it starts from new, open, and then fixed, retest, testing and closed, something like that. So here we have, we can customize this status, and this bug will flow all these life cycle things. Right? So here and the other important things are, once this bug is getting created, it has to be assigned to the developer or dev lead. So for example, if this Jira is if who is the developer working on this specific application or this particular page, means you can directly assign to that developer, or otherwise you can assign to the dev lead. Dev lead will take care of assigning to the respective developer. And reporter is nothing but who is raising this Jira. Usually it will be the tester. And we have the created when this Jira has created, and this is the last updated timestamp of this Jira. Since if anyone wants to add their comment for this Jira, let me go on to some other Jira. Let's see if we can find any comments here. As you see here, so this Jira is raised by Kahuja, and then there is a comment added by Tomaya Suzuki. right? So for example, if tester raised this bug and developer has something to be clarified, means he can add his comment here and the tester can reply to this comment as well here itself using this add comment button, right? Like this, whatever the conversation against this Jira, right, it will happen on the same page under this Jira itself, so that everyone, we can track this conversation for this particular bug. So this conversation will go on until this bug is getting fixed. Right, so let me go to this other Jira application. So let's see how to create this bug. Okay, so once you log in into this Jira board, you can see a create button on top. You just click on this. So this pop-up window, right, so where we are going to create our bug actually. By default, this project name will be selected, or whichever the project you are assigned to, that will be available here. And make sure you have selected the issue type as bug. So now, we are going to create a Jira for an application where assume that we have an issue in logging into the application. So I am creating issue in logging into the application. This is my bug title. And here I have to give some additional or detailed information in the description. So which is like, once again we have to give the title or summary. So that is the title. And then you have to mention the steps to reproduce. So this will be followed by the developer actually to reproduce this issue. So in our case, we have an issue in logging in into the application. So we have to tell like open the application, that is the first step, and then user enters the valid username, user enters the valid password, and then user clicks on login button. And then we have an expected result. After user enters the valid credentials, right? So what is the expectation? After enter the valid credentials and click on login button, so it should allow to log in into the home page, right? It should allow login into the home page. But the actual result is not behaving like that. So what we are doing here, so how the actual result is like, it remains on the login page even after input the valid credentials and clicked on login button. So this is the issue. So if you have any workaround on this, then you can add other title saying workaround, or if you find any root cause of this issue, then you can add that root cause also here. Or otherwise we can leave with this. These are the major informations that we added already: title, steps to reproduce, expected result and actual result. And if you want to add some more details along with this, then you can give like, so when did you tested this, date of testing. You can give some date here and the date when you have tested this issue, and then in which environment you have done this testing. So usually in the real-time projects we will have multiple environments, right? SIT environment, UAT environment, Dev environment, like that. So if we have tested this in SIT environment, then it is good to mention that as well, so that the developer will check on that specific environment. right? So once this is done, let's scroll down and select the priority. So I can make it as high or highest, because if the login page itself is not working, then which means I cannot land it on the home page, I cannot test the other functionalities of my application because it's blocking, right? It's blocking at the login page itself. So this is the highest priority to be fixed immediately, right? So if you want to add any label like login or something, then you can add it here. And usually this original estimate will be added by the developer, as they know how long it will take to fix this issue. And then if you want to attach the screenshots, then you just click on browse and attach the screenshot of this application. And then you can link this issue to other Jira. For example, you have other Jira task or stories to test the home page, right? So you can link that Jira here, and you can tell here as this Jira, the other Jira, this issue is blocking the other Jira, which means this login issue is blocking the home page testing, something like that, so that we can know the seriousness of this issue and they'll fix it immediately. And then we have to, if we know whom we have to assign to, then you can just click here and select the developer's name and assign this Jira to him. If we are not sure who is working on this particular page, because we will have multiple developers in the team and every developer have some specific pages to develop, right? So if you are not sure about that, we can directly assign to the dev lead, so he will assign to the team members, right? So once we are done with this basic level of thing, then you just click on create. So it will take some time to create this Jira. You see here at the bottom we have a Jira created now, and the ID is C2TA 2. Right, so once we open this, we can see the same details that we have added for this bug. You see here, so this is the title, issue in login into the application, and the description we have the title, steps to reproduce, expected result, actual result, date of testing, environment, and we haven't assigned to any developer, so that is why it is showing as unassigned. But in real-time projects, you have to assign it to the developer or at least dev lead. And then reporter is nothing but my name, because I am the one who has raised this Jira, right? And I mentioned the priority as highest. Right, so this is the basic how we are creating the bug in Jira. For example, if developer put a fix for this Jira, then he'll add his comment like this Jira is fixed, and he'll give some information of what fix is made for this particular bug, some details he'll give for this bug, and then he'll assign this Jira to the tester back. Then the tester has to retest this bug by following the same steps again. If this time the login is working, then he can add his comment saying this is verified in SIT environment on this date, it is working now after the fix. Like that, he has to add the comment, and then he can change the status of this bug to done or closed. So from here, for example, by default it will be in to-do list. Once the developer picks this Jira, it will be in progress, and once developer done his fix, then he'll assign to the tester with in review status. Once the tester completed the testing for this Jira, then he'll move the status to done. Right? So this is how in Jira we will work at it. I hope you all understand how the Jira is handling the defects now, right? So in the next video we will see how to use the confluence pages. Thank you all for connected to C2TA. We will meet you again. Thank you.